Hello, fellow educators. Welcome to the 16th episode of Teacher's Tint, a place to regain your strength after a long day, week, or maybe semester this 2023. I'm your host, Steve G, and I know that we all have this feeling at this time of the year, the two E's: excitement and exhaustion as we get to the end of the school year. And here at Teacher's Tent, we want to encourage you and say, hang in there. You can do this, my gurus. So let us hope you find some encouragement in this episode. But before that, let me thank everybody for your feedback on last week's episode. Looks like bringing my team along to discuss how to make a great team was a clear hit. This week, I have chosen an answer from Gus M., a bilingual fourth grade teacher in Mesquite, Texas. Gus M thanks us for an excellent episode and suggests that personal interactions at work should have an entire episode devoted to. He feels it's not easy to get along with everyone and shares that, in his experience, having more people in a team can add to the challenge, increasing the chances of problems within the team. Gus M remembers one year when there were 7 teachers in his fourth grade team, with him being the only male teacher. Even though he tried to put the interests of the group above personal wants to make things work, he feels not everyone else had the same idea. Thank you, Gus M., for your valuable input. Today we'll focus on a topic that many educators can easily identify with: our relationship with administrators. Principals and assistant principals can be a blessing. When they're effective, they impart a vision that all can follow. At the same time, they create a culture where all staff members feel welcome and valued. Some, unfortunately, are the source of many horror stories. At Teacher's Tent, we want to proactively help teachers improve this vital relationship, which, together with staff members and parents, is of critical importance at all 3 levels of the K 12 spectrum. In this episode, as usual, I'll share my 5 things which I believe help us better relate with administrators. So let us hope you enjoy today's presentation. Please, teachers and administrators, keep sharing your feedback after listening, either through comments on Instagram or emails, in things you think would help a teacher who feels unsure about how to deal with a difficult principal or assistant principal. So, let's talk about how to connect with administrators. An essential first step in a teacher administrator relationship is to ask. This is tied to knowing the rubric. Remember episode 13? Teachers need to know what is expected of them. Again, no one can do what they don't know they're supposed to do. Most administrators communicate very well, but maybe yours don't. In that case, I suggest you ask, so as to know exactly what they expect from you. Part of being professional involves asking and listening to what is being said. And this is especially true when the administration changes and teachers assume that the new principal will continue doing things the way the old one did. So, never assume anything and always ask. This shows your administrator that you're taking the initiative in understanding what your job description includes. Also, this is a great time to talk and express things you feel or think. Most administrators are smart, but I have not yet met one that can read minds. So speak to him or her. In the case of new principals, you might, of course, want to listen a lot and speak little at first, but do speak at some point later on as you feel more confident. A second point I recommend is stay out of their way. Administrators are very busy people and they don't have time for every petty thing. When tempted to ask your principal something, consider if someone else, like a coworker, a team leader, or your grade level chair, can answer that question for you. Following this suggestion will help you stay on your administrator's good side. Nothing irritates a principal more than teachers who keep knocking at their doors, constantly nagging and complaining about everything. Also, when asking becomes a necessity, think about the best means to use to deliver your question. Would an email be less invasive? Would a text message work better? My principal knows that if I'm coming to the office in person, it's got to be something important since I try to stay out of her way and use other means whenever possible. Most administrators will appreciate it, and you, when you respect their time and are brief when talking to them, as they're usually quite pressed with time. Item number three is to be polite to them. As with every relationship, kindness can go a long way. A smile or using please and thank you is a universal way to show politeness. Just don't overdo it. Administrators are quick to spot someone who's trying to butter them up. Principals often do things for us teachers, at least my great principal does, that they don't have to do, like providing a meal when we have a training. Make it a point to thank them for these little acts of kindness shown towards you. When I first moved to this country, I received a lot of supplies from my then principal. One of them was an electric sharpener. Now, let me tell you that growing up in a third world country, I had never owned, or even seen really, an electric sharpener. I felt so much gratitude for it. My coworkers at first were like, okay, it's a sharpener. But when I explained to them why I was so thankful, they understood. I still have the sharpener, by the way, and it still works. It's a great reminder to me that no matter how many resources I may have now, I never want to cease to be grateful for what I receive from people, and that definitely includes administrators. A fourth useful thing to do to improve your relationship with your authorities is to show them your commitment to your students and to the school. When principals see teachers intentionally seeking ways to grow their kids, they're pleased. Working hard and displaying this commitment will do a lot in improving the way they perceive you. They will respect you and think highly of you. This decision is actually what makes you a valuable teacher. Your commitment is not necessarily to the person of your administrator, but to your students and to the school. A fifth final valuable element is probably going to stir some controversy, but I want to share it nonetheless. Administrators are, for the most part, smart, but they're certainly not God. Even though they have, in general, a more global vision than we do, they're not always able to see everything from their offices. So, don't be afraid to say no to them if you think that what they're saying is inaccurate or plainly wrong. Many teachers feel they can never say no to an administrator, but I believe you can if you respectfully speak your mind and give your opinion on a matter, especially when it comes to your students. Remember, guys, you're the gurus, and no one spends more time with your kids than you do. I am convinced that no one knows better what my students need than me for that very same reason. Effective administrators will understand this and will take advantage of your knowledge to guide you in your own decision making, all of which would result in a benefit for the students and ultimately for the school. In conclusion, administrators can be a great blessing, but dealing with those few difficult ones can be a challenge. However, considering these five tips should definitely help. Namely, ask them, stay out of the way, be polite, show a commitment to your kids in school, and don't be afraid to say no to them. These are the top five on my list that we have covered in today's episode. I don't connect with my administrator. I would love to hear what suggestions would make your top five list. Feel free to email me this or other comments to steve at teacherstent.com. Again, that's Steve at teacherstent. Or simply follow Teachers Tent on Instagram, Teachers Tent, altogether lowercase. In the meantime, join us next week for our podcast's 17th episode. I have been offered to change grade levels. Should I? This is a time of the year when you might be offered to move to another grade. Even though this is a personal decision, we'd like to throw out a few ideas that will help you better decide, should this offer ever come your way. So, if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to let your colleagues and friends know about and bring them to Teacher Stand. We'll make room for them too. Have a great week.